Do you like these ears? Or these? Or these? I'm going to teach you how to make them. No sewing required. Hi everybody, I'm Ginger with Marvelous Mouse Travels, and if you're familiar with our channel, then you know that we do a lot of resort tours and travel planning tips videos for both Disney and Universal. But today we're going to do something a little bit different just for fun. I love all things Disney, and I love to collect Minnie ears, especially the boutique ears that you can buy off of Etsy and other online shops like that. However, those can be a little bit pricey, and I definitely can't afford to purchase a pair for every occasion. So I decided that I wanted to learn how to make my own. And as you can tell, I've been pretty busy at it. Now I'll show you all of these later in the video, but for now I want to talk to you particularly about this pair, which you actually have a chance to win. Now these would be perfect for Halloween trips to Disney World, and especially if you're planning on attending Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party. So let's talk about how to make these no-sew Minnie ears.
The first step in the process is to gather all of the supplies that you're going to need. First up, you're going to need a hot glue gun and plenty of hot glue because this project takes a lot of it. You also need a headband. I like to use one that's somewhere between 3/4 of an inch to an inch thick, and you can find those at any hobby or craft supply store. You're also going to need some cardboard, a Sharpie, a pair of pretty sharp scissors, some fiber fill, the fabric you want to use for your ears, coordinating trim, and you're also going to need some ear templates. You can find plenty of examples of ear templates online, and you can also use any Disney Parks branded ears that you already own as a guide. But just make sure when you're cutting your fabric that you cut it somewhere between 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 an inch larger than you actually want the ear to be. For my ears, I actually had 2 different sizes of ear templates, and I used the smaller of the 2 as my guide for tracing out the ears on the cardboard. Now you're gonna need 2 tracings per ear for a total of 4. Once your ear shapes are traced, you can use a pair of scissors or an X-Acto knife to cut them out. Once you've cut out all 4 of the shapes, divide them into pairs and hold each pair together tightly, and make sure that you trim them so that they're exactly the same size and there's no rough edges. Now it's time to trace shapes on our fabric. Now I always use a Sharpie for the tracing, and so I use a little bit of extra cardboard underneath it to protect my table. I use the larger of my 2 ear templates to trace my shapes on the fabric. And instead of tracing all the way around, I actually don't do the little concave part at the bottom. I actually trace a complete circle all the way around. And that's just so that I have plenty of room to stuff my ears later on in the process and still have enough fabric left over to glue it down in the back. Just like we did with our cardboard, we're going to trace 4 circles on the fabric. As you can see, I had a lot of leftover fabric. In fact, you really only need about 1/4 of a yard for this project, 1/2 a yard at most. Now it's time to cut the shapes out with a pair of scissors. Now we're going to start assembling our ears. The pairs of cardboard that we trimmed down earlier to make sure they were the exact same size are each going to become 1 ear. Take each piece and center it in one of your fabric circles, and then you're going to take a little bit of hot glue, and about 1 inch at a time you're going to put hot glue around the edge of the cardboard, and then you're very gently going to press the fabric up onto the hot glue. You don't have to pull the fabric tight. In fact, you don't want to do that because you want to leave yourself room to stuff it later on. And you're just going to continue the process all around the ear, leaving the very bottom of it, the curved portion, open, because that's how you're actually going to stuff the ear. You're going to repeat that process with all of your shapes and fabric, making sure that you keep your pairs together. Next, we're going to stuff the ears with a little bit of fiber fill. Now, if you don't like the look of a stuffed ear, you could actually pull your fabric tight in the previous step and skip this step altogether. But I happen to think that stuffing the ears gives them a little bit of added dimension. So I take a little bit of polyfill at a time, and I just use my finger to kind of make sure that I push it all the way to the end. And then I keep doing that throughout the ear, just kind of moving it around with my finger to make sure it's evenly distributed. After the ear is stuffed as much or as little as you want it to be, you're going to take that little bit of extra fabric at the bottom and glue it to the cardboard. Now you're just going to repeat this process with the remaining pieces. You're now going to glue each of your two pairs together. You have to work pretty quickly for this part because your hot glue is going to dry really fast. So make sure you load down one of the halves of the ear with hot glue, and then as soon as you get it coated, you're going to push them together and hold them firmly together while the hot glue dries. Repeat this process with the other pair. Now we have two ears that we're ready to attach to the headband. The easiest way to do this is to actually leave the ears laying on the table while you figure out where you want to position them on the headband. I like to position my ears about 1.5 to 2 inches apart from each other. But once you figure out where you want yours to go, run a line of hot glue along the base of the ear, and then you're going to attach it to the headband with both the headband and the ear sitting on the table. Doing this just helps to protect against accidentally gluing the ear on crooked. Once that hot glue starts to dry a little bit, you can pick it up off the table in order to press the two pieces together more firmly. Now repeat the process with the second ear. Now we need to add our trim. I like to use trim that has a little bit of texture to it as opposed to just plain ribbon. Although if you want to use plain ribbon, you certainly can. In order to measure how much I need, I just hold it up to the ear and then I trim it right off of the spool. You want to make sure that you cover up the space where you joined the two halves of the ears together with the trim. And just like we did when we were gluing the fabric to the cardboard, we're just going to go a little bit at a time, and we're going to carefully position the trim and then slowly move around the perimeter of the ear. we're going to repeat that process on our other ear. I also think it looks nice to put a little bit of the trim at the very bottom of the ears as well, and I do this on the front as well as on the back. Now that our work on the ears is done, it's time to start making the bow. To make the bow, start by cutting out a square of a coordinating fabric. Next, take your hot glue gun and pipe a line of glue down one of the edges, and you're going to fold that edge into the center of the square and push it down. Repeat the process on the other end. You're next going to want to glue down the ragged ends of your bow. Just pipe a line of glue along the end and then fold it down and press it. Repeat the process on the other end. Now you're going to do something called an accordion fold with your bow. You're going to fold down towards yourself, then flip your bow and fold away from yourself, kind of like you used to fold paper when you were making paper fans as a child. Keep repeating that fold pattern until all of your fabric is folded down, and then you're going to pinch it in the middle and hold it. Like I did, you might find after you've made your bow that it's a little longer than you'd like it to be, and that's no problem at all. Simply trim off one of the edges and then repeat the edge process where you pipe a line of glue along the new edge and then fold it down. Then you can redo your accordion fold and no one will ever know that you initially made your bow too big. Once your bow is the right size and folded, then you're going to take a bead of hot glue and you're going to pipe it into the middle of the bow and press it down. And you're going to do that between each of the layers of the accordion fold right in the center of the bow. And make sure that you hold it down each time until it dries. Now it's time to make the center of the bow, and I chose to use the same fabric that I used on the ears for this part. Cut out a strip of fabric and you're going to use a very similar process to the edge process that you used on the bow. Now that you've glued all of your edges down and you have clean edges, you're going to kind of measure how much of that you think you're going to need to go around the bow. I also like to use this little strip of fabric to help me attach the bow to the ears. So I make sure that I leave myself a little bit extra so that I can glue it onto the headband. Once you've figured out how you want the center of your bow to look, you're going to glue it together with a little bit of hot glue. So unfold it, put a dot of hot glue, and then press it together and hold firmly until it dries. Now we're going to attach the bow to the ear headband. Before you glue anything down, make sure that you hold the bow up and that you adjust it a little bit to see exactly where you want to position it on the headband. Once you know where the bow is going to sit on the headband, you'll know how much of that extra fabric to trim off. Once you've done that, just make sure you again glue down any ragged edges. Before I glue the bow down, I always double check placement one more time. And as soon as I'm sure where I want the bow to attach to the headband, I put a little dollop on the bottom of the bow and then I press the bow onto the headband and hold it down firmly until the glue dries. Once your bow is attached, you may find that you'd like to glue down the edges of the bow to the ears themselves, just so the placement of the bow is always exactly where you want it. You don't have to do this step, but if you want your bow to always be in the right position, then it can be a good idea. And that's the basics of our No-Sew Mini Ears tutorial. Now there's only one final detail to add to this Halloween pair of mini ears, and that's the bat. I thought that it would be cute to add a bat detail to the bow of these ears, and so I just went online and I searched for bat templates. I chose this one because it came with Mickey ears. I went to my local craft supply store and I got some black glittery foam sheets. This stuff is really easy to trace and cut out. I traced my template onto it, I cut it out, and then I glued it onto the bow of the mini ears, and now I have the perfect Halloween touch. Once I learned the basic process of making the ears, I got to be creative with different designs. I love these Marie ears that I made for my daughter, as well as these bowless forky ears that I made for my son. My son is also really into porgs, so I had to make him a pair of porg ears for when we go to visit Galaxy's Edge later this year. And I also made him a pair of Incredibles ears because he loves the Incredibles. I also made myself a pair of Halloween ears for when we go to Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party next month. My favorite pair of ears was this Christmas-themed pair that I made for our trip down in December to visit Galaxy's Edge, as well as attend Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party.
Thank you so much for watching this video today, and I hope that you're excited to make your own pair of mini ears without using a sewing machine. If you'd like to win the pair of ears that I made today, then all you need to do is leave me a comment down below about which of the ears I made is your personal favorite. And as always, if you'd like help planning your own Disney World vacation where you can wear your mini ears, then I would love to help you out. My vacation planning services are completely free if you book your vacation through me at the same price that you would pay to book it on your own on Disney's website. So send me an email or message me on Facebook today.